Welcome back, Choom, to another edition of Cyberpunk 2077 lore. Following recent updates on Cyberpunk Red from Mike Pondsmith, indicating that Nomads are going to play a significant part of shaping the narrative of Cyberpunk 2077, it's time to delve into some Nomad history. In America, there are just 7 million Nomads, and over half of them have given their allegiance to one of the 7 nomad nations of North America. These groups are composed of clans, tribes, and families which share common interests and enemies. The largest of the nations calls itself the Snake Nation, while the smallest is a nomad-owned corporation, Metacorp. Found between these two extremes are the Blood Nation, Folk Nation, Jodies, Felas Nation, and the Aldecaldos. In this discussion, I will be covering the Aldecaldos and their relationship with legendary samurai rocker boy, Johnny Silverhand. The Aldecaldo family was the first true nomad family to form, though at the time they were not nomads, but casualties of Los Angeles falling into disarray. Before the collapse, Los Angeles was arguably one of the greatest cities in the world. It was also, in some areas, one of the worst. In the 1980s and 1990s, parts of Los Angeles devolved into a war zone, as did so many of America's inner cities. There was rampant drug dealing, prostitution, gang activity, theft, arson, and all types of violence. The story of the Aldecaldos begins with Juan Aldecaldo. He started life as a migrant, had a stable home life, and a decent education. Entering the defense industry, he tried to raise his family as best he could. The defense industry took numerous hits in the 2 decades before the collapse. A lack of war and a lack of budget forced much of the industry to downsize, putting Juan out of work. Much of the extended Aldecaldo family depended on Juan, and he did what he could to help them, taking a job in a grocery to ward off collectors and selling his home to buy enough food. In spite of his efforts, the family spiraled downward into social poverty, until they were living in the city's worst slum. He implored his son and his daughter to remain in school and escape their bleak future. His daughter, Maria, was killed in a car accident the day before her 17th birthday. His son, Raymond, greatly distressed by his sister's death, eventually dropped out of school. He started seeing a Filipino girl who was a member of the Red Dogs gang, and eventually he became a member as well. Raymond was shot to death in a so-called robbery homicide on his 19th birthday. When the street rap media came to interview Juan, he basically gave them an oratory riot act. This caused a reaction Juan did not anticipate. At his son's funeral, there were over 9,000 people. His parish priest, a man named Yona Dominguez, gave an impassioned speech that brought the crowd to tears. They had all lost something to the gangs and their violence. After the funeral, Juan lost all will to live. Cancer had claimed his wife years earlier. The only thing that kept him going was his pride in his children. Now they were gone. Father Dominguez visited often, and eventually Juan joined him at his small mission, working to help orphans. One day, both were injured when a local gang did a drive-by in the mission house. They were angry, and they decided to do something about it. Father Dominguez, the man who would eventually become known as the Padre, was tired of dealing with an enemy who would not show his face. Juan Aldecaldo was tired of seeing others forced to bear the same loss as he had. They armed themselves, gathered a few of the faithful, and kept watch from the rooftops. They called the police incessantly, and the local beat cops began stashing extra body bags into their patrol cars. 1 block was reclaimed from the gangs and street rats, then 2, then 4. Soon, Juan had a small subdivision in East Los Angeles under his control. The city government was not happy having citizens take up arms, especially because it looked like law enforcement was ineffectual. Hassles from officials and attacks by gangs continued to rise until it became obvious that things were not getting any better in LA, and they never would. Shortly afterwards, the Pit Arco nuclear reactor underwent a meltdown. The Aldecaldo group was hired by the federal government to begin reclaiming specific resources and the clan was in business. Juan and the Padre led the clan well in the early years. Juan's celebrity, brief as it was, kept the media on the entire group, and that helped avert reprisals by police and others. In 2002, Padre died of a heart attack in his sleep. Juan struggled on alone, leading the family as best he could, and the Aldecaldos continued to prosper and grow under his guidance. He began seeking a successor as he grew older, though none would be found for a long time. Elders argued for an election, but Juan wanted no part of politics. He knew any type of internal competition would eventually ruin the family. Just before the Mexico City redevelopment contract was signed, Juan Aldecaldo suffered a heart attack, and though it set him back personally, he pushed the family forward. These years in Mexico City were good for the Nomads. Juan's health improved, and the family had time to consolidate and re-equip themselves. Though grisly in the beginning, Mexico City proved to be very lucrative as well. When the Aldecaldo clan returned to the US in 2015, they brought a few extras with them, including the body of Juan Aldecaldo to be buried near his wife and children in Los Angeles. They brought a new group of nomads fresh from the long walk and bitter about the way they had been treated. They also brought back legendary rocker boy Johnny Silverhand, who had spent the best part of 2 years hiding with the Aldecaldo. Importantly, though, they had a new leader, Santiago, a name some might recall as being one of Johnny Silverhand's close allies during the Never Fade Away scenario. Johnny meets Santiago and his partner, Rogue, in the Atlantis bar, who agree to help him save his girlfriend Alt Cunningham from the Arasaka Tower. He acts as a sniper using a Walther WA-2000 rifle to take out several Arasaka guards. Born in Los Angeles, raised in the clan, and tempered by dealings with the Long Walk, the charismatic Santiago was appointed leader at Juan's deathbed. Santiago Aldecaldo began life unceremoniously in an army hospital near Berlin, Germany. His family traveled often during his life, and Santiago would never stop moving. Culturally, his mother was a Chicano woman of mixed Native American Hispanic descent. His father was a second-generation Filipino immigrant. His first family was large and diverse, with many cousins and other relatives. His father served a short time with the State Department overseas, but a career doing consul work was not a safe job in those days. His family returned to the States in time for the lawyer's purge, and the family was forced to go underground into the early nomad community. Santiago had his share of troubles growing up. By the time he was 16, his family changed so much as to be unrecognizable. However, having been raised in a constant state of flux, the young Santiago was not fazed by these changes. He decided to leave his half-formed clan just before his 19th birthday and worked as a soldier, a bodyguard, and a roadie for several different bands. It was on the road that he met a solo named Rogue and a rocker boy named Johnny Silverhand. The true tests of Santiago as a man came through his relationship with Johnny Silverhand and other Edgerunners. After the Arasaka riot in 2012, these friends went underground among the Nomads. It was then the other Nomads were able to see what Santiago sought, and he was able to show them what they should be fighting for. The Nomads of the Aldecaldo clan liked what they saw in Santiago, and things began to change. As he became more famous and more visible in his community, Santiago suddenly found he was a leader. Personally, Santiago is reserved and quiet. He often comes across as a slightly crude nomad stereotype. To some degree, he cultivates this image, in part to fool the statics, and in part because it gives him an excuse to pursue fast women and faster bikes. If his enemies underestimate him, that is their mistake. Santiago is a skilled negotiator and a hard-working man. He sees a great deal of conflict coming in America, and considers it his duty to make the Nomad Nation as immune as possible to the effects. Santiago took the name Aldecaldo out of respect for the great leader. Under Santiago, the Aldecaldo has become the most powerful Nomad Nation.